Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about the risk of a phlebotomist working in a hospital, a clinical site, plasma center. I'm gonna tell you guys all the risks. So if you're interested, then stay tuned.
Savage bitch, in your trap and take over. Name another bitch that's colder. I just bought a brand new Rover. I don't even drive no more, I got a chauffeur. Took off, man, they asking me to slow up. Getting wiser and my money getting older. I'm that bitch, I ain't even gon' hold it. I'm that bitch, and I thought that they told it.
Okay, you guys, so with you being in the medical field, period, there is a lot of risk being around sick patients, patients with diseases, patients with certain infections, and things like that. So whichever position you choose to be in the medical field, there's always a risk of getting something, contracting something, or, moving something from one patient's room to another patient's room. So as a phlebotomist, of course, your duty is to draw blood and take the blood to the lab to get processed and tested for certain diseases, certain STDs, stuff like that, or other problems. So when you are doing your job as a phlebotomist, you have to prepare your utensils. You got to get your gloves on, you got to get your needles, gauze, tape, things like that. So with doing all that, and then you have to get your stuff, go to the patient, verify the patient's name, MRN, birthday, things like that, and then you have to proceed with your blood draw. Now the risk starts once you enter. Your risk of getting infections, STDs, or viruses is once you walk into the patient's room. You have to be alert of certain things before walking into the patient's room. You have to walk to the patient's door, look at the door. Does it have energy contact on it? Does it have droplet, airborne? You have to make sure you pay attention to those things before you walk into a patient's room to proceed to stick them. So once you, like I said, once you walk into their door, there is a risk of getting anything and everything. Then going to the patients, verifying everything. Touching the patient alone is a risk because you don't know if they have MRSA or any other contagious skin diseases. That's why we keep our gloves on and our lab coats. So then you'll proceed, after you verify everything, you proceed to pick a site, get your tourniquet, tie the tourniquet on, touch the site with your gloves on, see which vein you like the most. So with this step, you want to make sure you're using a new tourniquet, a new clean tourniquet. You don't want to use the same tourniquet as you would use from another patient, because you don't want to move infection to infection, or a non-infection patient to an infection patient, or an infection patient to a non-infection patient. Like, you don't want to mix the juices. That's just not right. That's just not sanitary. You wouldn't want somebody to do that to you. So there's the risk of giving patients another patient's, infection or whatever when you don't change your gloves and your tourniquet. You want to make sure you use everything that you use is clean. And once you proceed to stick the patients, there is a risk of getting HIV, hepatitis, STDs, AIDS, stuff like that. There is a risk of getting all that only if you stick yourself and you don't wear your protective gear. This is why you have to wear your goggles, you have to wear your lab coat, you got to wear your gloves. You have to do certain things for a reason. That's why we take the certain precautions we do before going into a patient's room. So yeah, you might say, oh, okay, this patient just got this. I'm not really worried about it, but it is putting you at high risk if you're not cautious. So there's a lot of risk when coming to the medical field, but especially phlebotomy, because you can stick yourself. While you're sticking the patient can move or jump and make you stick yourself. You could be preparing to stick a patient and stick yourself. So if you're preparing to stick a patient, you're getting all the utensils ready and you take the cap off and you accidentally stick yourself, you cannot use that same needle on the patient, because they don't know what you got and you don't know what they got. You don't want to give them what you got and you don't want to get what they got. Just throw the whole needle away and start over. And then if you're sticking somebody and you take the needle out and you stick yourself, I would wash my hands immediately, and then I would tell a nurse, and I would tell one of my coworkers that work in the lab, because usually when you work in the lab, it's some perks. So once you stick yourself on accident, you can get somebody in your lab that you work with. Hey, draw my blood. I need you to draw my blood, and have them run it like, hey, I need you to run this ASAP, because you have a 2-hour frame from when you can prevent contracting HIV and things like that. So while the tests are running, and it comes back positive, you can get the proper shots, the proper procedures to get done, so you won't contract HIV or any other viruses or STDs or anything like that. So that's the thing about being in the lab. You have to be very cautious. Like I said, you got to pay attention to the doors. You have to pay attention to the patients, because some patients might have C. diff or anything else, like thing you're not supposed to come in contact with. And then they'll have like poop all over their fingers, or they'll have poop all on the rails of the bed. Some patients bleed out, so they will have blood everywhere. You just have to be cautious when you walk into the room. Then again, that's another reason why, I'm sorry, I don't know why I can't talk. Then again, that is another reason why we wear our lab coats. The lab coats cover our arms, gloves on always, hair pulled back so it doesn't get in the patient's blood, poop, MRSA, stuff like that. You want to make sure you always have your hair pulled back. So that is basically all the risk of being a phlebotomist. You can contract almost any and everything if you're not cautious, if you're not careful while doing your sticks, if you don't pay attention to detail, like if patients have blood everywhere. Like say you sticking somebody, you don't have your lab coat on. That's rule 1. You already know got something on. So you proceed to stick them. You're leaning over them, you sticking them. You didn't pay attention to the door. You just rubbed your skin on the patient's skin, and they have MRSA, or they have C. diff, and you didn't see the poop on the bed. You don't want to be in that predicament. Trust me, you don't. I don't want to ever be in that predicament. No, I'm cautious. I'll look around, because the first thing I do is look at the door. Then once I get into the patient's room, I look at the bed. First, I look at the bed to see which arm I want, because if they have good veins, I look and choose like, which one do I want today, as the vampire in me. So I'll be like, which one do I want today? And then I'm analyzing the whole bed. Like one person, this person had a lot of fluid on it. I'm not going to say he or she, because I don't want no problems. This one person had a lot of fluid on them. And I was starting to stick this person, and I had my stuff on, but then I noticed something on the person's neck, like on their chest. And I was like, I asked the nurse, because I'm curious, because I'm in nursing school. I want to know what certain things are. So I asked the nurse, y'all, tell me why this patient had shingles. It wasn't on the door, because this patient had just came from the ED. So when they come from the ED, they're processing their test, or they just got their test done, or they're about to get their test done to see what's wrong, what do they have, and things like that. So once I was like, yo, what's that on this patient's chest? The nurse was like, I think it's shingles, but that's what we're testing for, because it was like scars in a line, and he was like, shingles follow the line of nerves. And I was like, oh my God, I never seen anything like it. Like I was so fascinated and so scared at the same time. So it's just like, you don't know what you're coming in contact with. If I wasn't looking for a vein, moving the patient's shirt around, like to like move it up or move it down and stuff like that, I wouldn't have noticed that. So you have to be very, very pay close attention to detail, because if you don't, then you'll pay for it in the long run. You don't want to pay for it because there's a lot of nurses that stick themselves for rushing. You want to make sure you take your time and doing what you got to do. You can only take blood but so fast. So why rush it and risk getting something when you could just take your time and get it right the first time, instead of rushing, missing, and accidentally sticking yourself? Y'all see the problem with that? Rather than taking your time, getting the blood drawn, and not sticking yourself. So to avoid the risk, just take your time, be cautious, and be aware. Just be aware of your surroundings. But those are the risks of being in the medical field, especially phlebotomy. So you choose whether it's for you or not. There is a possibility of you sticking yourself. There is a possibility of you sticking a patient and they move and you stick yourself. There is a possibility of those things. That's why you have to be cautious. That's why you have to take your time. And that's why you don't rush your work. So I hope I help you guys in this video. I know you guys have been asking me a lot about risk of phlebotomy. It's not really many risks, but the risks that they do have are like major risks, like sticking yourself. So you want to make sure that you are aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I hope you guys like the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be posting once a week, if not more than once a week. We're coming back with these videos, guys. So I hope you guys are enjoying the video and the content, just like I'm enjoying editing and putting them out for you. Y'all keep your mask on, stay safe, stay cautious, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.